Ah, Kim is here. Amazing.
Rob, Rob,
Buddy.
my man, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, when I swing, I put that fire to your chest. Talking ass, better wear a fucking vest.
So whatever you want to talk about, Kim.
Well, I just wanted to pick up where we left off. You
Yeah,
had
sure.
you
So I'll
used
let
some
you do
very
that.
choice
So-
words on Twitter.
So I'll let you throw out. I'll rephrase. I'll let you open, and then we'll however you choose
Sure.
to open. That's how we'll proceed.
Yeah. So I mean, you described atheism as a death cult, and I felt a bit put off by that.
Yeah, I can
And
I
mentioned-
can
and I
sense that.
mentioned that your religion, Christianity, is apocalyptic in nature, right? And
Yeah,
if
but
anything, it's a death cult.
but the thing is, like, we don't celebrate death.
You celebrate the apocalypse. You are hoping for the apocalypse to come soon, which I think is probably worse. And your leading figure was a first century apocalypticist who literally called for the apocalypse to come soon.
Well, he was said it's coming. He said he's coming soon.
Right, which means the apocalypse. is coming,
but Jesus
right?
himself isn't apocalypse.
One could say he's the harbinger of the apocalypse, but he's certainly calling for the end times, right?
Well, yeah, but okay, these things. Okay, we gotta go break these things smaller. We gotta start small.
Okay.
Let's start small, Kim. Let's because right now you're in orbit. We need to bring it down to street
Okay.
level. Let's bring it down to the street level.
Let's bring it down to the street level.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I know
Sure.
what I mean.
Bring me down to the street level, Rob. Where's the
No,
street?
this way. I mean, the street level in this conversation would be. That's good. Let me think. So Jesus died. Jesus was killed. That doesn't make him. That's not cult.
Well, we got to step back, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we got to start. at the crucifixion because that's really where this conversation.
We got to start at Jesus' teachings, man. We got to talk about what he.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we can go back further. Okay, let's go back.
Right.
Let's go back to Jesus' teachings.
Right.
What would you like to discuss regarding the teachings of Christ?
What about the teachings of Christ do not implicate a coming apocalypse?
There's nothing
The end of the world, right?
there's lots of things in teachings of Christ that don't even touch about the end of time.
Right, but his main thing is that the end is near, right?
His main thing, I would say, would be to prepare yourself for the end being near.
Right. But he would admit and he would tell you that the end is near, right?
Yes, but the end of near
times
is
are coming very soon.
but that's relative.
One might even say that Jesus expected the end to come within the first century, which
Well,
I mean
that would be
clearly
a
didn't.
misunderstanding of the text.
Okay, so when Jesus is talking to the audience at the beginning of Mark 9, right? And he's saying there are some who stand here who will not taste death until the kingdom of God has come with power.
There are some who are standing here who will not take. Did he actually say that there are some who are standing here who will not taste death
Until the kingdom of God has come with power. Yes.
Okay, I'm pulling up Mark.
That's
9.
Mark 9. That's the beginning of Mark 9.
Beginning of Mark 9. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's Mark 9:1.
Truly, I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the kingdom of God with power. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, and then
and it goes on to talk about the transfiguration, right? But
I'm really interested in how Mark 8 ended now.
that's a good question. I should probably
Because I think there might be some clarity to that. Because the thing we have to remember is, Ken, the Bible has the Bible actually, in actuality, not in present form, but in actuality, the Bible was written with no verses and no chapters and no punctuation.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Jesus talking to the 4,000, the people that he fed, right after the bread and the fish.
All right.
So this is him talking to people, right? So there's an audience in front of him, and he's speaking to people.
Okay, Kim. I'm going to read This is the last 5 verses of Mark 8. Okay.
Yeah.
This is Jesus in Mark 8. This last 34 to 38. These are the last four verses.
I'm following.
Okay, so then he called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. Whoever wants to lose their life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? If anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his Father's glory with the holy angels." And that's where we pick off from Mark
9.
Yeah, from Mark 9. And then in Mark 9:1, he says, "And truly I tell you, some of you who are standing here will not taste death before they see the kingdom of God with power."
Right. So you and I can agree that this is a literal retelling of events, right? This is Jesus speaking to people sort of physically, right?
It seems to be.
This isn't metaphor. This is Jesus literally speaking.
Oh, it's not metaphor. What it looks like to me is both prophetic and hyperbolic.
Okay, sure. I mean, the prophecy is the world will end before any of you die. None of you are going to die before the world ends and the kingdom of God comes with power.
Do you know what hyperbole is? Of course.
Yeah, but I don't think this is hyperbole in the context, right, of first century apocalyptic Jews, which are the people he's talking to, right?
Yeah,
followers of John.
I understand, but I understand that our understanding of Near Eastern language and how they employ it would be understood so slightly different to them than us, I think, in this text.
Sure, but these are the people that he's speaking to in this. Like,
we
know what first century Jews thought of their own religion, right?
Oh no! I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is,
and so these are the people that he's talking
but
to.
I'm saying the genre of language, like Jesus used hyperbole quite a few times in the Gospel of Matthew. Just as an example, okay, in Matthew 5, he said, "If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it into the fire." I mean, Jesus is not actually advocating for self-mutilation. He's just stressing a point to say that one is better than the other. But he's not actually Jesus is not actually telling people to cut their arm and self-mutilate. Is what I'm saying.
Sure, but here we're listening to Jesus speak to a group of people, right?
Right. So
and
when
Jesus is a prophet,
right? But when my point
is talking about. Well, hold on, because it's important to take the writing in context, right?
Right. No, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
So I think the context does lend to the possibility of hyperbole, in that some of you.
What makes you say that? What is it about these sentences that makes you think that Jesus is being hyperbolic? And why would Jesus be hyperbolic in this case?
Three quick points. One is Jesus is never known. Actually, John even says that who spent 3 years living with Jesus, that there was no deceit on his lips.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
John said of Jesus that on his lips were found no deceit.
Okay, so he doesn't
meaning
lie.
That he doesn't lie. So for the character of Jesus, doesn't make sense that he would tell people that they wouldn't see death when he died and the kingdom hasn't been fulfilled in its entirety.
Unless he truly believed that, and unless that's what the Jews of the time would expect to hear.
Yeah, okay, but then you have another problem. Jesus is has some sort of disconnect, some sort of mental disconnect, which also doesn't jive with.
Not necessarily. He could just be an apocalypticist from the first century, which is not unusual. John, somebody who had more followers than Jesus at the time, was also a first century Jewish apocalypticist. He described the current state of affairs as, the axe being laid at the root of the tree.
Yeah, I mean,
they expected the end to come very soon.
Yeah, and Revelation is obviously extremely apocalyptic.
Sure, but even not Peter, I'm thinking of somebody else. The guy, the first one to write about the death of Jesus.
Talking talking about after the Gospels or within the Gospels?
No, this is during the Gospels. I think it may have been Peter.
Mark is the first. Mark is the first Gospel to be like in chronologically speaking.
Yeah, there's one of them that doesn't mention the empty tomb, right? Which is like the big thing.
Oh, I think that was Was it?
Not the point. So the point.
No, Math. Actually, I think it may have been Matthew that you're talking.
So let's suppose that it is Matthew, right?
Okay.
Matthew seems to not really care about the resurrection of Jesus all that much, and he seems to be far more concerned with the resurrection of the dead, which would be the confirmation to the first century Jewish apocalypticist that the end is coming, right? They expected the end to come within the first century.
Yeah.
Immediately after Jesus is, because John refers to Jesus as the first fruits, meaning like the harvest has already begun.
Right.
And then nobody else is resurrected, right? Because a first century Jew who is an apocalypticist, right, would expect that everyone, right, all of the dead people would rise out of their graves, and that's the end is here. That's Judgment Day, right?
So then the question becomes, what are? Well, I mean, I believe that I think all of the disciples believe that Jesus would return within their lifetimes.
Right.
But I don't. But the thing is, what I think we have again is a fundamental misunderstanding of the rhetoric that Jesus used and how it was interpreted. When Jesus says, "I will return soon," we think we don't. No human being alive thinks 2,000 years is soon.
No. And also, he didn't say soon.
He said very soon.
He gave a specific time frame in Mark 9:1. Some of you who are standing here, right? Yeah. So he's talking about literal people who are around him in the first century will not taste death. So within these human lifetimes, the kingdom of God will come with power. And to a first century Jew, the kingdom of God is a very literal physical place.
Oh, for sure.
Right? That comes down from the heavens and establishes itself on earth.
I don't dispute that.
Right.
So either it's either one of three things. One is but the first possibility would be the toughest for me to wiggle my way out of, which is a mistranslation.
We can go to the what is it?
The Greek.
Sure. We can go to the original Greek. We can go to you can go as far as you want, right? But the idea that this is something we know the Jews believed historically at this time, right?
Second
and it's corroborated by other figures in the Bible, right? This idea that the end is coming soon, like imminently.
Oh no, I'm not disputing that, but I'm just saying, the wording may be different from the Greek than the translation to the English.
Okay, but I think we can still agree that Jesus was referring to people standing in front of him, right? That they will not.
Yeah, I don't dispute that. Yeah.
So how does this make Jesus not an apocalypticist? Someone who is predicting?
I'm not disputing that. Okay, the second possibility.
Okay, so we agree.
Okay, second possibility is the rhetoric was misunderstood, and to some degree.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I didn't say it's not tough, but I'm saying I'm just. These are hypotheticals. I'm just putting ideas out there.
How do you figure that it would have been misunderstood? Why would a Jew hear this, right? Truly, I tell you, some of you who are standing here will not taste death until the kingdom of God has come with power, and misunderstand it.
Well, for the same reason that the apostles thought he was coming back with their lifetime, because Jesus said, "I'm not." Jesus didn't even say, "I will return soon." Jesus said, "I will return very soon." But 2,000 years.
But how could somebody misunderstand that?
Well, again, what's God's idea of time compared to humans' idea of time? I think that
it's not about what God considers time and what we consider time. Jesus literally gave us a time frame.
Right, but my point
Before
is,
some of these people.
Cam, you got to listen to me. I'm trying to ask a simple question. I'm trying to say something simple.
Sure.
But remember, like I said, Jesus said, "I'm coming." Told his disciples, "I will return soon." 2,000 years later, he still hasn't returned, but he said very soon. So was Jesus lying? Did he not understand something, or was it a case of human rhetoric and God's sense of timing disconnecting?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I think that Jesus is like every other person who's predicted the end of the world, right? Meaning he's not special, and he failed to predict the apocalypse. He's a failed apocalypticist.
Oh,
Like
okay.
Harold Camping, for instance. Failed apocalypse. He gave a date and time, right? And it just didn't happen. All of Jesus's disciples died. Everyone who was standing there died, and Jesus didn't return. The kingdom of God did not come with power.
Mm. Oh, according to most Christians, he hasn't come in the fullness of his power. Hasn't returned in the fullness of his power yet.
Right, but he's not talking about him coming back in Mark 9. He's talking about the kingdom of God.
Yeah, but
and that to a
kingdom
first
of
century
God-
Jew means something very specific.
But most people would understand that the kingdom of God coming in its fullness would be the start of that would be the return of the King himself, Yeshua.
You believe that because you're a modern Christian, but at the time that this
Right.
document was written, that was not what Jesus meant, because he was a first century Jew who had a very different understanding.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
of
Yeah, we've
eschatology.
got 2,000 years of history. Yeah, there's definitely
Well, 2,000 years of making excuses and trying
That's one way to
to
put it.
misinterpret what Jesus said to fit
Who
why
makes
the
you
world hasn't ended.
who makes you the gatekeeper of what's interpreted properly or not?
Jesus's words and the historical analysis of those words, right? So we understand what Jesus
So you're
meant.
saying there's no other way to take it except literally.
Well, unless you believe the Bible isn't a literal document, we
No,
agreed that this is a literal
Do you
thing
believe
that's
that
happening.
everything? Can let me ask you: do you believe everything that's written in the Bible is literal?
I don't think that anything that's written in the Bible is like even remotely true. But you,
Okay,
as
let me
a
put it this way.
creationist, have to accept that it
Do
is a
you
literal
think
document.
everything? Do you think everything written in yes or no? Do you think everything written in the Bible is literal?
From your perspective as a
No,
creationist,
just no.
yes.
Not my perspective. Just yes or no. Not my perspective. Do you think everything is in the Bible is literal?
I don't trust anything in the Bible.
That's
This is
not what
a-
I asked. I didn't ask if you trusted. I asked you if you think everything in the Bible is literal. It's a simple question, Ken. Yes or no?
I don't understand the nature of this question. I don't
Pardon?
believe in the Bible.
But that doesn't make that's irrelevant to the question. Your belief in the Bible has no relevance to the question being asked.
For the purposes of this argument, yes.
Okay.
Because I'm engaging with this document as you engage with it, and you believe that it's all literal.
I don't believe it's all literal.
So why do you believe in creationism?
Well, there are things that are literal, and there are
Okay,
things
so
that are
then
not literal.
so why do you get to pick and choose what is and isn't literal?
The same way we do everything else in life by looking at
No,
context and genre.
No. Okay, well, what is the context of this event, right? Which is Jesus talking to people that
Yeah.
makes you think it didn't happen,
Jesus is preparing people for what's to come.
right? But what about this isn't literal, in the sense that it didn't happen, right?
No, I didn't say it didn't happen. I
Well,
don't
that's what
believe it
literal
did.
means in this scenario. He's not hypothetically speaking to people. He's
No, I
not
didn't say.
metaphorically
I-
speaking to people.
I
He's
never
literally speaking to people.
Yes, I'm not. Did you hear me disputing any of that?
No, but you still. Where is the disconnect then?
I think I think it's hyperbolic. I think it's hyperbolic.
What about it makes you think it's hyperbolic?
I've already answered that question, and that Jesus is not.
You said that there's a possibility, but this possibility doesn't mean that that's true.
Nor does it mean that your reading of it is true either.
It's not my reading of it; it's what the document says.
Well, what if I say it's not my interpretation of that it's hyperbolic, but it's what the text will lead to.
The text doesn't say that it's hyperbolic anywhere, and there's
Yeah,
no
but
reason to
text
think that
doesn't
Jesus
say
was
it's
being hyperbolic.
Text doesn't say it's literal either.
Yeah, and he said to them.
Yeah, the text
He's
doesn't
literally
say.
speaking to them.
Yeah, he's literally speaking to them. But what I said is the text doesn't say it's literal
And he said
any
to
more
them.
than it says it's hyperbolic or less.
Okay, so why do you seem to think that hyperbole is the more rational explanation here?
Because of context. And
What
Jesus-
is the context?
If we look at the context as a whole, and the character of Jesus as a whole,
Right.
hyperbolic usage in that particular instance seems to make most sense.
What
to me.
about truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste the death before they see that the kingdom of God has come with power is hyperbolic.
Part of it is, and part of it
What
isn't.
part of it?
That some of you will not taste death. That seems hyperbolic to me.
Why would that be hyperbolic to you?
Because of what I've already said, but 3 times, is that if I take the context of the whole of the story as a whole, and the character of Jesus as a whole, I don't
So
know
is
what
Jesus a character or is he a person?
a person.
Okay.
I mean, like character. When I say character, I don't mean like a fictional character. I mean his
Well,
character.
I mean, that's
Okay. Kim,
okay.
you gotta listen to me without interrupting. I would appreciate that.
Sure.
I mean, when I say his character, I mean the things that make Jesus in terms of his honesty, integrity, fidelity, truthfulness, and coherence to reality. It's like everything that makes your character is the things that attest to your character.
Okay.
I mean,
So why would a truthful person be hyperbolic when making specific prophecies about the end times?
Well, it was common verbiage in your Eastern rhetoric back then.
Okay. Let's look at the previous chapter when he feeds the 4,000, right? Is that hyperbolic?
No,
Why is it not hyperbolic?
because that's descriptive of what is going on. It's not.
Okay.
There's
How
no
is
way
how is Mark 9 not descriptive of what Jesus said to them?
I'm not saying none of it is descriptive, but I think there's a slight variance in one to the other at that point in time in the text.
Okay. Why do you think that there's a slight variance there? What about the text? What about that line makes you think that it's hyperbolic?
Because he's because again, like I don't know how many times I gotta say it, but like between who Jesus is character-wise, between his like honesty, integrity, fidelity, and so forth, and the context of what's going on before and after it just seems to make the most amount of sense to me. I could be wrong, but that just seems to make sense to me.
Okay, you keep describing Jesus as someone who has honesty, integrity, fidelity. Someone who has these characteristics would not use hyperbole. They would tell you what they mean.
No. Wait a second. Why would you? You're saying that person who has those things would not use hyperbole, but that begs the question.
No, it doesn't.
It's circular too.
No, it doesn't. Someone has integrity and who is honest and trustworthy would not use hyperbole. Hyperbole is a kind of deceit.
No,
you are making a thing sound more than what it really is. It's a kind of deceit.
No, what Jesus used hyperbole in Matthew 5, not to deceive, but to make a strong case that one thing is better than the other. But he's not actually advocating for the thing that he's describing hyperbolically. It's a category error on your part.
Hold on, I'm looking for this.
Yeah.
This phrase.
Oh, in Matthew 5?
Where is it? Yeah, for what the
it's
cutting
about
off
the adultery thing.
Murder, adultery. If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away.
Yeah.
It is better for you to lose one part of your body than your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell.
Yeah.
This is not hyperbole. This is metaphor.
It is. No, it's hyperbole.
It's metaphor. It's not hyperbolic. It's metaphor.
How do you figure?
If a part of you is causing you to have problems, right, and he's using the hand as a metaphor here, hyperbole would be there are 1 million fish in this pond when there's only like 40, right? telling people cut off your hand is not hyperbole. It's a metaphor.
But it's bad advice.
It's metaphorical. He doesn't mean it literally. At least according to you, right?
So how do you know how? Well, I mean, I think it's both hyperbole in that sense and hyperbole in Mark 9.
So again, there's a difference here between Jesus giving like advice and people and him telling people about the end times, right?
Right. Okay, but
I think metaphor is useful when you're trying to give people advice about complicated situations.
yeah.
But when we're talking about the end times, I don't know that hyperbole would be useful there.
Yeah, but that's your sense. That's you're one person. You're one voice and one mind. You don't get to decide what's.
Well, so are you. You don't
I
get to
agree.
decide what Jesus said or what Jesus meant. We have to look at
I
what the
agree.
text says, right?
I agree. So this is semantical for sure.
I think this is a disagreement in opinion, and I have the inkling that you're uncomfortable with admitting that Jesus truly said this in a literal sense, because it would kind of break apart your faith. Because this is like a foundational thing about your faith is that Jesus is coming, right?
He is, yeah.
And if Jesus said, "Well, I am coming within this specific time frame," and that is the specific prophecy, and that prophecy didn't come true, that would mean that Jesus is a failed prophet. Like every other prophet on earth.
Even worse, a false prophet.
Even better, right? He would be a false prophet, just like every other prophet on earth.
Yeah, that would
and
be.
I think
that
that's
would be,
what makes you uncomfortable.
That would be hugely disconcerting. If
Right.
That were true.
I mean, it seems to be true, according to Jesus anyway. Right?
Well,
and according to all of the others who were expecting the rest of the
all of
bodies.
those people have obviously died. There's no disputing
Right.
that.
And none of the bodies rose from the dead.
And Jesus still hasn't returned.
Right. Despite the fact that he said he would return within the 1st century.
Right. I need to do some. After we're doing this, I need to do some textual criticism on Mark.
Okay. I mean, it's right there.
No, I know, but I mean, like it's right there. It may not be what we think it is now. That's all I'm saying.
I think we need to focus on what it was then and not what it is now, Rob. What it meant to a 1st century Jew then is the important part.
Well,
because Jesus is speaking to us. We are not the audience.
What it meant then would be what the textual criticism would lend toward.
Well, the textual criticism, right, would be this is how Jesus described the end times. It conforms with how John described the end times, right? When he said that the axe is laid up on the root of the tree, meaning that the end times was imminent. Right? Why would a lumberjack set an axe on the root of a tree 2,000 years before he's planning to cut down the tree? That makes no sense, right? He describes Jesus as the first fruits, right? Saying that the harvest has already begun. His death points to the imminent rising of all of the other bodies from the grave, right? Which is how a 1st century Jew would interpret the end of the world. Yeah, and this is something that all of Jesus' disciples died expecting to happen any 5 minutes now.
5 minutes.
And yet, it's an expression, right? Jesus is dead, and he rose from the grave, meaning everybody else is about to rise from the grave. Get ready. And here we are 2,000 years later, still reading their letters. Because Jesus didn't come back, and the other bodies didn't rise from the grave. Because Jesus is just another false prophet, like every other prophet before and after him.
Oh, wait a second.